Good afternoon. This is such an incredible event, and I was so looking forward to being together once again. You might be wondering, why is she joining us remotely? I blame it on some pretty bad luck. I was vaccinated for COVID in March. Shout out to the Tulsa Health Department and everyone in the medical field. So when I woke up on Saturday morning without the ability to taste or smell, I thought to myself, what in the 2020 vibes is going on right now? I ran to get tested as soon as the clinic opened and learned what I feared that my loss of smell and taste were telling me. I tested positive for COVID. I read that there's less than 0.1% chance of a fully vaccinated person getting COVID, so I don't plan on going out to get a lottery ticket anytime soon. I've had minimal symptoms aside from loss of smell and taste, and I attribute that to having gotten my vaccine earlier this year. I must say that in this moment, I'm incredibly grateful for the technology that we have learned to love and sometimes love to hate, but that has brought us together time and time again, wherever we are for the past year and a half to share ideas. And it's coming through again for us today. And let's admit, you'd probably be looking at the screen most of the presentation anyway. And so it goes. The show must go on. And I have too much great news to share to be held back by quarantine. I'm so grateful to the Tulsa Regional Chamber who made it possible for me to be here with you virtually in order to keep my germs contained and at home. I want to start today by going back to my roots as a teacher. I attended my first Tulsa Regional Chamber State of Education event as an elementary school teacher a number of years ago. I was invited to the event by my school's partner in education, STEM Group Corporation, and I sat with them at their table and enjoyed a beautiful lunch. That event meant so much to me. I can't even tell you. If you're a teacher sitting with your partner in education, I see you and I want to shout you out. If you're a partner in education who's brought an educator with you, please know that I felt so immensely grateful for the partners who brought me and introduced me for the first time to the Tulsa Regional Chamber. Who would have thought that years later, I'd be speaking at this incredible event? That speaks volumes about the power of connection between education, workforce, and industry. As a lifelong Tulsan parent and educator, I also want to acknowledge and thank all of the incredible Tulsa region teachers, school staff, professors, administrators, and educational leaders in the room for the tireless and often thankless work that you've done over the past year and a half navigating COVID. It wasn't easy, but you made tough decisions and pivots to keep students safely learning. On the topic of learning, I am beyond excited to share with you today about the Tulsa Higher Education Consortium. The consortium is a collaborative that's been hard at work for the past 4 years, thinking about how to support the student experience and learning in higher education in Tulsa. The Tulsa Higher Education Consortium, otherwise known as THE Consortium, exists as both who and what forms. When we talk about the who, the consortium membership is made up of 7 Tulsa region higher education institutions, including Langston University, TU, NSU, OSU Tulsa, RSU, TCC, and OU Tulsa. You'll notice each of the institution's colors embedded in the consortium logo. Affiliate members include the Tulsa Regional Chamber, Impact Tulsa, the Broken Arrow Chamber, City of Tulsa, the Tulsa Community Foundation, and the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. The Tulsa Higher Education Consortium is made possible by the Charles and Lynn Schusterman Family Philanthropies. The consortium's mission is 4-part: to align with its partners to advance student learning in higher education, improve student success and degree completion in the city, achieve equity in student outcomes, and meet workforce needs through collaboration. In regard to what the consortium is and does, The consortium seeks to align with the powerful efforts of higher education institutions to improve the experience of students in the region, while also serving as a unifying and coordinating entity for all colleges, universities, business, and community partners. Before I get too far into my presentation about the consortium, I want to take a step back and focus on some of the most incredibly important and powerful individuals in our region, our students. Their resilience to persist in their degrees, even though a pandemic occurred, are beyond inspiring and truly do deserve recognition. In your mind, I want you to picture a college student from the Tulsa area. Maybe you know one, maybe you are one. Take a second and in your mind's eye, envision what they look like, act like, what their needs are, and what their aspirations might be. Can you picture it? This slide depicts the average college student profile data in the Tulsa region. Keep in mind that this US Census data is pre-pandemic and post-pandemic data is currently being collected, but this gives us a good place to start and think about higher education in our city. There are roughly 40,000 students enrolled and attending colleges or universities in the Tulsa region. Just above 9,000 degrees were awarded in 2019. The student population skews more heavily toward women, who make up 56% of college and university students. 51% of students are between the ages of 18 to 24, an age range that is often considered, quote unquote, a traditional student. And 49%, the other half, are above the age of 25, often classified as non-traditional students. Think about it. Non-traditional students often have homes, families, and planted roots within the city when they begin or return to higher education. Their likelihood of staying in the city is often greater because of the lives they've built in the city. As you can see from the distribution on the bottom of the slide, 42% of students attending colleges and universities are considered students of color, including Black and African American, Hispanic, and Latine, 2 or more races, Asian, American Indian, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander. According to Impact Tulsa's 2019 Community Impact Report, citing the US Census, the diversity of the city is growing. And within the next 10 years, this collective number will likely rise above 50%. So here's what all of these facts and figures mean. Tulsa has to serve a lot of students with different needs, who need different types of programs and formats of programming and need more information and access to higher education than ever before. For example, a student in the 18 to 24-year-old category, which is roughly half of the students in Tulsa, has very, very different needs than the other half of students who are older than 25 and may already have a career, a family, and a home in the Tulsa region. Naturally, these students experience different stressors, motivators, and incentives for completing their degree programs. With the student population in mind, both part-time and full-time college options and instruction that is inclusive and responsive to student needs, cultures, and life situations is critical. To appropriately respond to the needs of Tulsa area students, higher education must be flexible, equitable, and accessible, and cannot be a one size or one institution fits all. When looking at a community survey feedback from a higher education survey administered in October of last year, community perspectives align with this data. Here are just a few quotes that give voice to what the data shows us about higher education in our city. Both traditional and non-traditional students are represented in Tulsa and prioritize the many higher education options that are accessible to them. Also, affordability and information were commonly noted as keys to access for students. The consortium creates open spaces for innovation, where, as the second quote on the slide says, higher ed can innovate an experience that adds to students, gives them real world experience, and gives them roots so that they're attached to our city. The great news is that we can see that the Tulsa higher education ecosystem has the capacity to do and be flexible, equitable, and accessible, and to meet the needs of students at every point in life, on every journey, and at every stage. With just over 1 million residents, with predictions for an increase in population over time, Tulsa is home to a variety of education options for students. We have the largest community college in Oklahoma. TCC has annual enrollment of over 22,000 students. Through Tulsa Achieves Scholarship, TCC provides Tulsa seniors with free tuition for their first 2 years of school. If students want to attend a public college or university and stay within Tulsa, many students start their journeys at TCC and then transfer to other receiving institutions. Langston University is the only HBCU, or historically Black university, in the state of Oklahoma, and there is a campus right here in Tulsa. Tulsa has 4 public universities, including Northeastern State University and Rogers State University, and also OSU and OU Tulsa, both of which are award-winning research institutions. In addition to public institutions, Tulsa boasts 2 private institutions, including Tulsa University and ORU. And for non-degree seeking students, Tulsa Tech also provides post-secondary credentials and certifications. With a variety of strong college and university options, and with the frequency of student transfers from one institution to another, it really is important to have a unifying convening body, which is where the Tulsa Higher Education Consortium comes in. The consortium model is not new. Most similarly sized cities with higher education landscapes like Tulsa's adopt the consortium model. Consortia bring together institutions and organizations to improve and expand collaboration. There are over 60 higher education consortia in the nation. Some of our peer consortia that have most closely supported the formation of our consortium are featured on the screen, from Texas to Ohio, Massachusetts, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Additionally, the consortium is a part of the Association for Collaborative Leadership and works closely with the National Institute for the Study of Transfer Students. Speaking of transfer students, the consortium began from the formation of the Tulsa Transfer Project in 2017, which focused on creating seamless transfer pathways for students transferring from TCC to any other Tulsa area university. The 7 institutions that chose to participate in the Tulsa Transfer Project back in 2017 took part in a comprehensive transfer-focused self-study that allowed them to develop strategies for streamlining the transfer process and decreasing credit loss when students transferred from one institution to another. This collaborative was centered on an issue that all institutions care about: transfer student success, which has laid the groundwork for what's possible when our higher ed institutions work together. Following the transfer project, the Tulsa Higher Education Task Force was formed, which brought in workforce leadership to the team to create a formal consortium structure to continue the collaborative work started with colleges and universities. The Tulsa Higher Education Consortium is the culmination of the past 4 years of work. The fact that the task force had regular remote meetings and accomplished an immense amount of work over the course of 2020 speaks to the dedication of the colleges and universities and the importance of cross-institutional collaboration. This collage of collaboration highlights some of the incredible work that the colleges and universities have done throughout the course of their collaboration to make seamless pathways across 2 to 4 and graduate degrees. This means that a student can start certain program tracks at TCC that follows a transfer pathway to any of these receiving institutions. College Park, a collaboration between TCC and OSU, Smart Choice with TCC and NSU, and a brand new TCC to RSU to OU graduate program, otherwise known as a 2+2+2, are the newest collaborative efforts that will be discussed in just a few moments during the fireside chat. Earlier, I mentioned that consortia across the nation are engaging in powerful collaborative work. I want to share with you a little bit of that work so that you can peek inside the potential of a consortium like Tulsa's. A recent article highlighting the value of consortia in the post-COVID era reported that institutions who were part of a consortium stayed connected, shared resources with more frequency, and engaged with business and industry, especially with the medical professions, more often during the pandemic than in previous times. This sharing of resources helped institutions to weather the storms of COVID and to help students connect with businesses who are now hiring with much greater frequency. In Chicago, colleges and universities in the Association of Colleges in the Midwest have established a research internship with the Field Museum of Natural History, where students are able to conduct important research while also contributing knowledge to the museum, its patrons, and the broader community. The Atlanta University Consortium is recognized nationally for its career fairs for HBCU students. Coordinated with businesses across the nation like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Dell, and many other business and corporations. Not only do students get attention for their excellence and their expertise, businesses are also able to recruit the best of the best. Also, hundreds of businesses are drawn to the city for these noteworthy events. The networking doesn't just stop at career fairs, though. The collaboration between business leaders and business educators, or really any community leaders and educators for that fact, is an important one. These relationships help not only with diverse recruitment, but also with understanding what programs are out there and how and where students are being trained for their professions. What we can learn from consortia across the nation is that with interinstitutional collaboration, the possibilities for innovation are truly endless. In terms of strategy, the consortium has 4 focus areas. Number 1, advance student learning through training and professional development for its member institutions and provide access and information to students about degree and career pathways. Also, resource sharing across institutions will be an important feature of the consortium. Number 2, degree completion. Income levels in Tulsa are such that a student with a bachelor's degree has a base salary of at least $25,000 more than a high school graduate. This creates opportunity for economic mobility for Tulsans. The consortium seeks to continue supporting a seamless transfer process with minimal credit loss so that students of all backgrounds and all situations can pursue a 4-year degree without having to leave Tulsa. We want to train our talent in Tulsa and keep our talent in Tulsa. Number 3, the consortium will work to achieve equity in outcomes by looking closely at enrollment, retention, and graduation data, sharing equity-focused best practices, and connecting with community resources like Campus Tulsa and Thunder Fellows, just to name a couple. Number 4, business and industry. This is where you play a critical role. To meet workforce needs through collaboration, employer partnerships are crucial. The consortium serves to unify and bring together not just higher education, but also workforce. Working together and keeping a pulse on workforce trends and needs with higher education will lead to new ideas and innovation. This work is really exciting, but it requires all hands on deck. How can you partner with the consortium in doing this work? Well, some possibilities include creating paid internships for college students. Earlier, I mentioned Campus Tulsa, which is leading the way in internships across the city. Providing tuition remission or reimbursement for employees looking to upskill or earn a degree. Or build a partnership with a local college or university program in your domain or focus area. The work of the consortium truly is incredible, and this short presentation simply does not do it justice. To learn more about the consortium or to read the 2020 Higher Education Task Force report, go to www.tulsahighered.com. I'd love to connect with you to answer any questions or share insights. For more information or to share your thoughts, email info@tulsahighered.com. Again, it is so wonderful to be here with you today. Thank you.